Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you. The Morning Majority, 6:30.
WMAL.
7:37, the Morning Majority. Wilson and Ham in the house, and Neiman still off on vacation. We are joined now by Stuart Varney, the anchor of Varney & Company on the Fox Business Network, which begins each morning at 9:20 Eastern Standard Time. You get great insight to what's going on in the world of finance, the world of business, and the world in general when you listen to Stuart Varney. And he joins us now to talk about, we got about 1,000 things to talk to you about. Stuart, I'm worried. I'm a worried man right now. I'm very nervous about the stock market, about my 401k. You know, I'm getting, to be the age where I think about that a lot these days. Are we in trouble?
Yes, I think we are. I regret to be the bearer of bad news yet again, but yeah, you're right to worry, Brian. Things are not going well. All the indicators are pointing south for the economy. Jobs, housing, consumer spending, those are the biggies, and they're all looking really bad. And what I regret to say is that the president's explanation for this downside move for the economy, all this trouble, his explanation is really, I'm sorry to say, but it's lame. Yesterday, he publicly said, look, the economy is weak because of earthquake and tsunami in Japan, Arab Spring, which created higher oil prices, and turmoil in Europe. Now, missing from that list of problems was over-regulation, brutal regulation, beating up on private enterprise, and the forthcoming cost of Obamacare, and the failure of stimulus and the failure of record-high government spending. The president just won't stare reality in the face and appears to want to double down on the mistakes that he's already made.
How much of this, though, is that people have been focusing of late on this debt ceiling debate, and they're focusing, I think, maybe for the first time in a long time, on just how dire our situation is, and that causes them to hold on to money. That causes them not to make investment, not to go out and make purchases, and then it cycles through the economy.
I don't think that's a really big factor.
Really?
It is a factor, but not a major factor. This economy started slowing down in January and February. How many people back then said, I'm not going to hire any new workers because I'm afraid that they won't raise the debt ceiling in August? I mean, it just wasn't a factor when the economy started to slow down. Sorry. But now we've got news today that this debt ceiling, the debt deal, is almost meaningless. We now owe 100% of our economy. Our economy is $14.5 trillion a year. That's GDP. Well, that is now our accumulated outstanding national debt, $14.5 trillion. We are now in the same league as Italy, for heaven's sake. In a matter of days, that's how far we've come. Now, you can't tell me that debt deal, therefore, has great meaning for the financial markets and the ratings agencies, which are going to take one look at us and say, down the road, maybe, you don't deserve AAA. I think it's coming.
Well, that's what's frightening to me, is that this deal was relatively small and meaningless when it comes to actually dealing with the debt, but it was like the farthest right thing you could probably get in this situation. So you end up with this rather hopeless seeming scenario, don't you?
Yes, you do. Put it like this. If we are on the brink of recession, we certainly have a much slower economy. That means much less money flowing into the Treasury. If you then match that less coming into the Treasury with slightly less spending, it means that all the gains in the first year of the debt deal are wiped out by the slowing economy. Where does that leave you? I mean, that means that debt deal is, to all intents and purposes, in the near term, meaningless. The only thing it did was to take away the fear of immediate default. That's all it did.
Are you sanguine or completely hopeless about the commission and what it might do?
Shall I say sanguine? Not knowing quite what it means, Mary Catherine.
It's a good thing.
I'm iffy on it. How many blue ribbon commissions have I lived through in the 40 years I've been in America?
Absolutely.
I mean, come on. I'm just not sure that America or any place else has the will to confront runaway entitlement spending, the political will. And I don't think we're there yet. parts of Europe have arrived because they're in crisis and chaos, but we're not there yet.
I almost feel like we should turn off the transmitter and go home, that we're doomed.
Stop it, Brian.
I mean, is there anything out there? Is there anything out there that gives you a glimmer of hope?
Yes, the 2012 election. Because
the big correction.
Look, politics will correct the trend. Politics is the only thing which can which can change this trend. Look, we're looking more and more like Europe. I don't think we want to be Europe. We are unique. We are America. And it's politics which will reverse course. And I have great hopes that we can reverse course.
Well, my hope is that in having this discussion and having these fights, a lot more people are learning how dire the situation is, which makes pitching a Paul Ryan-type plan a lot easier.
Yes. I'm with you all the way, Mary Catherine. I mean, the only hope is to make it clear what kind of rotten shape we are in. And then you realize we're up against the wall, and we will be capable, I think, of taking the action that's required. But look, when I say the action that's required, I don't mean immediate trillion-dollar cuts to expenditures. I mean, that's unrealistic. It's not going to happen, and frankly, we don't want it to happen. What we want is a long-term Ryan-style plan to control entitlements. If you can look down the road and show clearly that you got a handle on this, that we're not going down the Athens road. If you can show that, and you mean it, then you can change.
You know, Stuart, I noticed last week that Neil Cavuto came down here and stood in the hallways of Congress to keep an eye on those guys and try to, keep them honest. I think we need you to come to Washington. You willing to come down there and walk the hallways and have this explanation and this conversation with people when the time comes?
I'm flattered that you would think it would make a blind bit of difference if I set foot in the nation's capital. But yes, I'd love to. I will come down. As a matter of fact, I do have to be down in early October.
Yeah.
And I shall say hi if you're not careful.
Why don't you come be on the show with us? We'll give you some time. We'd love to have you in the studio.
Brian, if that's an invitation, it is hereby accepted.
All right. Our bookers will be in contact. All right.
Crazy. You're crazy.
Well, thank you so much, Stuart. We got to run. We appreciate all your insights, and you always teach us something.
I always walk away feeling a little depressed, but having learned something when I talk to Stuart.